Hey, welcome back to the Compendium of Discomfort. We have some new decorations there. My name is Michael. And let's talk about some stuff, because today is the 152 subscriber special. It could have been the 153, but somebody unsubscribed. Why? I mean, it's okay. You don't like me, it's okay. But if you enjoy this, subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. Send everybody here. Like, some people were surprised. They're like, hey, Isolated, one of the greatest action movies of the year, suddenly comes to America. Who would have guessed that that one is good? Yeah, me, because I told you some months in advance. Now people find out about Tatsujin Warriors. I told you months in advance. So if you want to know what's going on in Japanese cinema, I recommend highly subscribing to this channel. I usually don't say that so much, so excuse me for saying that today. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some movies, some other stuff. I just realized that I still haven't talked about the Baby Assassins Cafe, I think I never talked about that on this channel. I think on the German podcast I did. So, yeah, and we have one interesting comment for my Kokuho video, which I want to talk briefly about. Someone wasn't happy with me. Maybe that's the one who unsubscribed. Happened about the same time. Let's talk about some stuff and some movies. I have 4 movies that kind of all deserve, or most of them deserve, a bigger review, but I'm not feeling like I want to talk about them a lot now. Maybe someday, if I rewatch them, and maybe have, for 2 of them, I would like to have more context, because they're from an era which I'm still a little bit figuring out what was going on there. So I just want to talk a little bit about 4 movies and some other stuff. And let's start with some other stuff. I finally finished reading this book. I bought it years ago, and I always read a little bit, and now I was like, I should finally finish it. It's written by a human that's Yomota Inuhiko, who is a kind of an essayist and cultural critic and poet. So be prepared for the last few chapters to be quite angry about the decline of movie criticism, because now it's just people like me spouting out nonsense on the internet, and nobody really cares about good, well-researched, smart criticism. So I'm very sorry, Mr. What was your name? Mr. Inuhiko, that I can't. Or maybe I do. I don't know. Maybe I'm not the worst. There are much worse people. There are always much worse people. Anyway, so it's a very interesting book, because the interesting part is that it actually takes on, like, most of the history until quite recently. Like, most books about Japanese film history are already a little bit old and maybe go up to the 80s, or of course everybody knows Donald Ritchie, who maybe wrote up to the 50s or 60s, and that's all very interesting, especially these old Donald Ritchie books that are usually much more detailed about that era. So if you're very much into, like, pre-war or slightly after the war cinema, that's still very interesting, even though he has some questionable takes. But anyway, so here the interesting part is, first, it's written by a Japanese person, so there's a little bit different point of view, and sometimes questioning some ideas from people who write in the West. Yeah, it's like Donald Ritchie. I think he got criticized somewhere in there. And that's pretty rare in English language. So that's very good. It goes pretty far into the present, or quite close to the present. And the only problem is it's relatively short. It's like 200 pages or so. And so it's not all that detailed. But if you just want a nice overview about what happened in Japanese cinema, it's a really, really good book. And yeah, maybe you should read it. It's quite nice. And other stuff. Let's talk about I Am Kirishima. We talked about this man before, very briefly, because there was a different movie by Masao Adachi that's called Escape. And it's pretty much focused on the part of the story that this one is not focused on. The escape. And it's quite interesting having two movies handling the same story, the same real story about a man who did bombing attack in the 70s and then was on the run until 2024 when he became terminally ill and in the hospital told the doctor, hey, I'm this guy whose face is on all these wanted posters that you can see all over the country. And yeah, both movies portray this same person, the same incident, and they share a lot of the same elements because, I mean, not that much, I guess, is known about his life, but enough to just fill it up with some fiction and present it as a quite coherent story. So in both movies, we have this man who escapes after his bombing, and then he basically hides by doing some very normal construction work and yeah, just living his life. And while the older movie did that in a quite interesting way, where we can see a lot of the director's influence in the movie as well. Like he has a very politically extremely left-wing history. He was in prison for quite some time as well, the Mr. Masao Adachi. While this one by Banmei Takahashi, who you might know from movies like Door or Door 2, or maybe he had a relatively big indie success, No Place to Go, or we talked about his movie Neo Chimpira, Zoom Goes the Bullet, when we talked about the first two movies from that Arrow Video V cinema collection. Yeah, we will get back to that. I was super busy the last few weeks. I actually have a regular job that I have to do, and I was so busy I didn't have time for anything, but we will go back to that box. We will finish it someday. I know we have a lot of other stuff to finish as well. Anyway, so he's quite known for quite some interesting and not that friendly cinema. And now he's quite an old man. I mean, Adachi is an old man too, probably the oldest, one of the oldest directors still active. But Takahashi was interested in the story because he wanted to highlight what kind of a normal man this Kirishima is. So he wasn't interested so much in the escape. He wanted to show first his youth. So this movie is more focused on what happened before the bombing incident. And then he focuses a lot on him just living his life and sometimes having a dream of the explosion. That's always the same dream. They were very stingy. No, both are super low budget movies. But yeah, the Adachi movie is way more surreal, way more philosophical, I would say. More interesting. You have two actors playing the same character, and there's this wonderful scene where they just switch positions. The young was, oh, I'm so tired. The other one's, yeah, I'll take over. Great scene. And in the I Am Kirishima, we have the same actor. That's Katsuya Maiguma, who does a very good job here. You may know him from like Love and Other Cults or Last of the Wolves. Good actor, does a good job. Sometimes the aging makeup doesn't do such a fantastic job, but that's totally fine. And yeah, the premise of the movie is what makes it less interesting than the other one, because it's mostly just following a guy through his very normal life, and sometimes having these short memories in form of dreams, or there's at the end some part where he's very frustrated about a racist coworker, and he gets kind of angry there as he thinks. So that's a little bit like his political passion fires up again. But that's all. He just lives his life, goes to a music club, learns to play the guitar, and has a little bit of a flirt and stuff like that. So it's a very anticlimactic movie. It's still good. It's still interesting, especially in contrast to the other one, which is way more experimental, way more expressive from the director's side of view. He puts so much more of his identity in there, I would say, while this one is a very down-to-earth, normal movie and keeps things very, very quiet on purpose. So it's boring on purpose. So if that was the purpose, it did a very, very good job. So I mean, I can't even say that I didn't enjoy watching it. Was just like, yeah, and what else? What else? There's nothing. What else? He just lives his life, and in the end he dies and is a very normal person. But yeah, like I said, that's the point. He wanted to show that this guy who did some bad things is actually a very normal, friendly person who lives a very normal life, and that's what the director believes is the reason why he could hide for such a long time, because he's a normal, friendly person who can live among other people without sticking out or doing anything crazy. And he says it's kind of a coming of age story. And it's an interesting point of view on this life, just not as exciting as the other one. But to be fair, Mr. Adachi, how old is he now? Like, he was born in 1939, so he's really, really old. And he still makes more interesting, more political, more exciting movies than most young directors. I mean, most young directors aren't really interested in politics all that much. So, I mean, nowadays in Japanese cinema with young directors, you gotta praise someone like Yugo Sakamoto for criticizing or commenting on economy and like social classes, who can afford what kind of lunchbox, and in the end deconstructing or destroying the corporate machine, and actually giving his character some kind of moral, without spoiling too much. That's almost like the peak of current Japanese political comment in movies. So someone like Adachi, who did some crazier stuff when he was younger, still makes more exciting, more interesting, at least in a political sense, movies. As still a fantastic, interesting director. I should watch his older stuff too. So very good. But sticking with the maybe political motivated, so slightly political motivated movies, I watched 2 older movies, both in the context of I wanna someday finish watching all the Kinema Jumpo best Japanese movies of all times list. And I watched 2 of them. One is Crazed Fruit. That is Kurata Kajitsu by Ko Nakahira, his directional debut, written by Shintaro Ishihara, who later became a right-wing politician, but wrote some other quite famous movies, or as the books that the movies are based on. The most famous, probably A Pale Flower, from 1964 by Masahiro Shinoda, another very important director from that era. And they casted his brother Yujiro Ishihara in one of the lead roles. He became a huge name in that time, did a lot of youth movies and action crime movies. If you're interested in that era of Japanese cinema, you have definitely seen him. And then we have Mie Kitahara, who plays the female lead, who quit acting relatively soon because she got married to him, and then quit working. And the other lead is Masahiko Tsugawa, who you might have seen in Tampopo or Sancho the Bailiff. Bailiff, is it? Yeah, probably. But he was like in Battle Royale 2 or Gamera or stuff like that. He did a lot of very great things. And this is a movie from 1956, when there was this craze about youth movies, like post-war time. Japan got economically, is it? The economy went up, got better, and now you have a lot of movies, especially the so-called Sun Tribe films, who portrayed a very nihilistic view on the youth, who are just there and do stuff and don't really feel like doing anything, have no motivation, no agenda. They can do everything they want because suddenly everybody has money. And this is basically the same here too. We have 2 brothers and their friends who stay somewhere at the sea, spending some good time there. And basically they and their friends compete in stuff like who can get more or the better girl, more girls or the better girl. And just when they arrive there, the younger brother sees this lovely lady and falls in love with her, and starts some kind of relation with her, and his brother soon gets jealous and they start competing. And of course there needs to be some extreme escalation. And first, it's a wonderfully filmed movie, black and white, of course, that time, and well acted, well done. And a lot of the time you just watch these quite terrible people doing quite terrible stuff. They get in fights. They just have no point in their life. They're just like, let's make doing nothing the new thing, and water skiing and fighting with others. Like very silly life. And this all escalates and it turns into some big drama, and the ending really like, wow, where did that come from? I mean, of course it had to end in a bad way, but that was quite extreme. I was really, wow. This kind of movie soon died down a little bit, especially like this kind of Sun Tribe film, because it was too scandalous. Maybe some people felt too offended by seeing the youth portrayed in such a way that's like completely useless, horrible, and quite disgusting, actually. And yeah, it's a classic movie. It's a big hit at the time. It deserves probably very deep interpretation, especially in the context of the time. I'm not going to do that now. Maybe someday, if I watch more of these movies and I can actually put it in a larger context that will be very interesting, then it's great to come back to it. I just want to recommend it. It's a very, very great, interesting movie, but this is quite famous. That's most people who are into older Japanese cinema know about it. There's even kind of a reinterpretation of the same novel, more as a pink film, that has the same title, by Kichitaro Negishi from 1981. Quite similar plot, seemingly, but yeah, a very different interpretation of that. Haven't watched it yet, but it seems to be very, very good as well. It's on the best movies of all time list too, so I will get back to that, and maybe, yeah, with that and some more context, it will be interesting to take a look at it again. But another movie with quite a similar foundation, 15 years later, 1973, that's not so famous, is Akai Tori Nigeta, so Did the Red Bird Escape, by Toshiya Fujita, most well known for Lady Snowblood or Stray Cat Rock or stuff like that. Here he did the wonderful Play It Boogie Woogie as well. So quite a talented, great director, and this is quite a great movie too. I just watched it randomly because it was available, and I never heard of that before. I just scrolled through the list, checked what can I watch, and found this one. And great actors. We have Yoshio Harada, was in Lady Snowblood as well. He was in I Wish, or Still Walking, Nine Souls. So he worked quite long after this. He passed away in 2011. He was even Nightmare Detective by Shinya Tsukamoto. Plays here the older man of the group. Here too we have three people. We have an older guy, a younger guy, and a girl. And the girl is played by Kaori Momoi, who was, for example, in Ghost in the Shell, or Memories of a Geisha, or Kagemusha, or Helter Skelter. But I would recommend watching Welcome Back, Mr. Donald, one of the best comedies I've seen in years. Great stuff. And the second male lead role is Masaaki Daimon, who was in Lady Snowblood as well, and he was in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla and Terror of Mechagodzilla and Sailor Suit and Machine Gun. Quite a good cast, quite a good director, and quite a good movie. Yeah. So here again we have this group of people who don't really know what to do with themselves, but more in a sense of we are not good enough for a normal life. So with a younger guy, sometimes people tell him like, hey, you're still young, you can still do everything you want. You can still have a normal life, you can get a normal job. You don't need to live like this. And the older one, older, like 29, is already like, yeah, everything is over, my life is wasted, and nothing good will ever happen again to me. And one day the older guy gets hurt, so the younger guy takes him home, basically, and there's this girl who is kind of the owner or just living there. Her friend, I think the idea is her friend owns that house and she can just stay there or something like that. Anyway, they're just there being naked, playing around. The two guys are kind of like small gangsters, trying to get some money from rich people. There's a wonderful scene in the beginning where the younger one sleeps with the wife of a rich, like, company boss or something. And the company boss comes in with the older guy. We still don't know that they are actually friends. And he has a rifle. And they catch the guy and kick him out and demand some money for their service. Or at least the guy with a gun demands some money for his service. And they get in some kind of trouble. And they just try to live their lives. They get in more trouble by trying to get more money, and then they pretend that they don't even want that money because it's bad money, it's dirty money, and they shouldn't even have that, and stuff like that. They take it anyway. And it escalates as it should. The different thing here is that the characters are more likable. They're like these likable losers. You don't really like the stuff they do, but they do it to rich people. Who cares about rich people? It's not all that nasty. In Crazed Fruit, it's more like they do stuff to each other or to, like, people on the same level. They treat women badly. Here the woman is, like, basically on the same level as the two guys. Secretly not, maybe. Maybe she tries to escape something. Anyways, but they're like presented as like one group, and there's of course some jealousy because the older one seemingly is impotent, so she sees it like kind of a challenge. Let's see if it moves. And the younger one is like, don't touch my girl, and stuff like that. And it's, again, a very nihilistic movie. Like, there's nothing for us in this world, but more in a sense of, in Crazed Fruit, they are part of society. They're in the middle of society, and they just don't know how to deal with that. And here, these are, like, outsiders. They're not really part of society. They're more like a gang somewhere, but a gang of losers who can't get stuff done. And just when they realize that maybe they're a good team and they have actually the freedom to do whatever they want, and they don't really need to fit in and do stuff that gets them in trouble, they get in more trouble because they're pretty useless losers. And of course it has a pretty tragic end, but here you actually feel bad at the end, while at Crazed Fruit you just say, oh my god, that escalated more than I expected. So pretty great movie. What should I say? It's beautifully filmed, as you should expect from that director. Let me see the the director of cinematography, worked on Funeral, Parade of Roses, Demons, Pastoral, To Die in the Country, The Man Who Stole the Sun, Lady Snowblood, all that good stuff. So especially he worked with Toshio Matsumoto. So of course this movie looks fantastic. There's some shots that are just like, wow, good stuff. No? So if you have any chance to watch this, it's a really, really good one. So a short break. We're back with our Occultic Summer, a very cute movie. I got a lot of signatures by cast and crew. They're not very famous people, so I will skip talking about them. But here's this dude. He is the star of the show. He's really funny. That's Yuta Kibayashi, I guess. It's a very small movie, very low budget, and it's a little bit indecisive what it wants to be, but I enjoyed it quite a lot. It's a little movie about a school occult club. Like, in Japan they have these school clubs where you can join and then you do stuff according to the topic. Like if it's a baseball club, you play baseball. And here they are involved in some occultic matters, like ghosts, for example. In the beginning, they go to a playground, and the gentleman is somehow able to, like the one girl who already is a member of the club, she does some praying or something, and then he gets basically possessed by the ghost and becomes that, and then they can take care of kids, ghosts that just wants to play with someone. And this club gets a new member, and after this little episode on the playground, she tells them, hey, my older sister actually died in the pool of the school, and I'm sure there's something wrong, and I want to find out what's going on there. And of course, the club members help her, and they become a cool team. And that's my biggest criticism. It's a pretty short movie, like 1 hour long or so. And I would love to spend more time with these characters. They're very fun, very nice, a good team, and very entertaining and funny. And I would like to see more of that. Could be a TV show, wouldn't mind that. But yeah, they pretty soon get into this job, finding out what's going on there. And it all becomes more serious, less funny, and more focused on drama and a little spook. It's not a horror film. It has some slightly scary moments, but it's definitely not a horror film. It's more focused on the drama of people who pass away, and what happens to their spirits and things like that. So it's way more serious in the second half, which is a little bit too bad, because I liked the funny stuff, and seemingly they cut out quite a lot of the funny stuff, because if they wouldn't, it seems like it's all about the guy being funny, which is okay, because he's actually really funny. It's a very sweet, small ghost movie, little bit unbalanced, but well done. A huge influence from like Shin Godzilla, Shin Kamen Rider. I think they said Shin Kamen Rider, and Shinji Higuchi. I think the guy here is called Shinji as well, if I remember correctly. There's some influence. The camera work, they had like 3 cameras, and they do all this funky stuff with weird angles and perspectives and a lot of cutting. So it seemingly took like 2 years from filming to the actual release. So there's probably a lot of editing time in there, because 3 cameras and stuff. Looks quite good for that kind of movie. They have some funky lighting as well, and it's a nice, fun movie that makes you feel like, oh, I should keep an eye on that. I think the director, that's Shoichi Higuchi, he did a little short movie with our beloved Kunioka. So yeah, I haven't watched that yet. It's on YouTube, 15 minutes long. Maybe good. More Kunioka is good. New movie coming in December. The world premiere at the Asian Film Festival, Osaka Asian Film Festival, was sold out in like 3 minutes. I didn't have a chance to get a ticket, because I noticed, I forgot that they were on sale, and I checked like 1 hour later, and it's all sold out. Crazy. Unbelievable. But because that happened, I actually paid attention to a screening of Crazy Thunder Road over here, with director Gakurio Ishii, and I actually got a ticket for that. I didn't believe it would be sold out, because last time I watched some of his movies in the cinema, nobody really cared, be it like old movies or new movies. I didn't watch that at that time, but almost nobody came, so I was still like, okay, let's be safe, just get it immediately. And the next day it was sold out. So, Crazy Thunder Road. I will talk about Crazy Thunder Road in a separate video, because I really want to do that in more detail, and I want to rewatch it again and stuff. It's a fantastic movie. Watch it in preparation or just in general. It's out at Third Window Films. Crazy Thunder Road, Third Window Films. Fantastic, genre-defying, super influential movies. We wouldn't have Shinya Tsukamoto the way he is now if we didn't have this movie. Watch it. It's essential cinema. Yeah, we have one more movie to go to. That's ChaO. ChaO. Super cute, super nice. Got some criticism for being too conservative. I slightly agree and slightly disagree. That being said, I don't really care that much if a movie is conservative, as long as it's not insulting. So I will make a little spoiler section at the end where I explain why I didn't mind it here. But yeah, if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, if you're like very progressive and you hate everything that doesn't align with your views, then maybe you don't want to watch it. Besides of that, it's a very cute, nice movie. It's interpretation of The Little Mermaid. Here we have Stefan, a very useless, average guy who suddenly has to marry the princess of the mermaids. I don't know. Are they all mermaids, even though we have male and female? I have no idea. Let's call them mermaids. They're all maids by that. It's a movie by Yasuhiro Aoki, who hasn't done all that much like feature film. His most famous thing was working on Batman Gotham Knight. I don't know that. We have some people in the cast. For example, we have Oji Suzuka, who was, for example, in the Terrible Violence action. And we have Anna Yamada, who is very big recently, for example, in a Golden Kamui, questionable role there, by playing an Ainu and not being an Ainu. How that happened, I don't know. Yeah, but she was, for example, in Live a Leaf or The Faceless, or maybe her best movie, Mountain Woman. Yeah. Then we have Kafka Shishido, who is usually a musician, but who was, for example, in the wonderful Revolver Lily. And we have Yuichiro Umehara, who is a voice actor, for example, in Words Bubble Up Like Soda Pop or My Hero Academia. And yeah, we have Kenta Miyake, who was, for example, a voice actor in Red Line or The First Slam Dunk or In This Corner of This World. And yeah, like I said, we have Stefan. Mermaid princess comes to him. She looks like a very cute round fish, and yeah, he's confronted with reality that he has to marry her, and everybody's like, yeah, you're gonna marry her, and he's like, why should I didn't really ask for that. And yeah, but he feels pressured enough, especially from his boss, who's very round too, to go on this date. In general, most of the characters in this movie are like without any scale or perspectives. They're just like in all kinds of shapes and forms and everything. So it's visually very exciting and very interesting. And that's the biggest selling point for this movie, like the visual aspect. The story is quite simple. Now we have these two people who go on a date because she wants to marry him and he doesn't understand why. And from there on, we get some kind of relationship. Of course, there's some connection in the past because she's like, but you promised me. And he's like, I don't know. We know the setup. And of course, there's some like clash going on, some escalation. And in the end, will we get the big romance. And it's all very cute, it's very basic, like the problems they have is like, for example, she makes some food for him. That's, we got these nice animation papers, where she gives him electric eel and he can't really eat electric eel. It gets electrocuted and then she learns to cook and gives him food. Stuff like that. Or, he wants, she wants to give him a robot and of course, stuff happens. Things like that. So, nothing too crazy from a story point of view, nothing too crazy in general. There's some little bit silly scenes that are like, we could have solved that smarter, but I always say there's no movie scene in the world that's too stupid to not be real, because humans in reality are much more stupid than anything that ever happened in a movie. Even though you feel like, why are you doing that? That's really stupid. But I think that on a daily basis. So that's fine with me. And yeah, it's a nice, charming movie. It's very funny. You have like this cool visual style, a basic story that everybody can understand and somehow maybe relate to. And there's one thing that's surprising to me, and that was one part of the criticism, that she is this round fish and then she slowly turns into a more human-like form. So more like a typical mermaid, so with a human upper body and a fish lower half. Here they still have like fins and sharp fangs and watery hair, but close enough, I guess. And some people criticize that this is basically needed for him to fall in love with her. I disagree here, because I first thought the movie would go in that direction, that we have this fish and we don't know about the mermaid identity. But in this movie, in this world, everybody knows that the mermaids have two appearances, and usually when they come to the humans, they just change, and if they're frustrated with the humans, they change back and go back to the sea. And on their first date, when they meet, he looks at her through a water fountain, and through the water he can see her more human-esque appearance. So he knows about that, and she changes little by little, and maybe that helps him getting more close to her. But it doesn't really stop the disaster at the end. So I don't think, like, if she had to change at the end to make him love her, I would say, yeah, that's pretty bad. Here I felt like it's more a visualization of her getting adapted to the new situation and how comfortable she feels around him. That was my interpretation, and the director all say it's a movie about being vulnerable while transitioning to something else, and that's seemingly their visual expression of that. And the person I went to the cinema with immediately said it's a movie about immigrants. Big topic in Japan. People coming to Japan who don't really live here, who are not from here. And so I didn't even come up with the idea that that's her way to make him love her. So I don't really know. Didn't make me angry. The other thing is, for example, that she does stuff like cooking. Okay. Tiny spoiler, like we said, there's a connection of these two from the past, basically when they were kids. And she tries to make him happy based on that past experience. So she knows only things he wants as a kid, and kid basically wants to eat and wants a robot and stuff like that, or firework. And so she still has this in mind that, hey, I want to make him happy, so I just give him what he wanted at that time. And doesn't work out. And in the end, the solution of everything is not that she needs to change, but he needs to change. Yeah, he understands the situation, and then he changes too. It's not just her thing. So I don't know. I didn't really get the impression that these people who made the movie were just like pushing a conservative agenda. I think the focus here was on the, someone comes to a different culture aspect. By the way, food is always a good situation for a culture clash. Just feed Japanese people some German food and see how they react. There's some bad reactions too. So yeah, I don't know. It's a very central part of life, and it makes sense that you put that in there. And I don't know, if I would cook for you and you would suffer from my cooking next time, I would try to cook something you like. So I don't know. I wasn't really upset or offended by that. Yeah, it's more on the conservative side. It could have been better. It could have been more progressive, but didn't really do anything bad for me. I mean, there's so many movies where I feel like that's not 100% my political idea, but everything around it is really good. So it's okay to have something that's like, not great, but in the realm of normal stuff that's happening. I don't know if someone feels like portraying this kind of relationship. I'm not gonna be angry. I don't know. Didn't do anything bad for me. If you don't like that, fair enough. Then don't watch the movie. It's a lot of fun. It's nice. It's cute. I enjoyed it. So please don't hate me for enjoying a slightly conservative movie. We'll get to one more maybe in the next video, because I watched that one yesterday. Yeah. Pretty conservative too, and still good. So yeah, we will get to that. Anyway, that's enough for the movies today. We're here at talking about little bit problematic stuff. Let's get to my comment about Kokoro. Some person who's here named as Tomoko624 commented on my Kokoro video. Wasn't too pleased with that. I'm very sorry. I will just read it. I will read it as it is. It's a Japanese person, so there are some maybe grammar mistakes or something. That's not the point here. I don't care. Fair enough. If I write Japanese or speak Japanese, I will make a lot of mistakes too. So that's not the point why I'm reading this. So let's see. As Japanese, we know that most of kabuki actors are from their blood relatives, and it's rare that they adopt outsiders. Good point. I hope that's true. I know some Japanese people who don't know anything about kabuki and maybe don't know that. And then here it goes on. But there is the most famous Onagata, Mr. Tamasaburo Bando, who is living national treasure. Kokoro. Yeah, Kokoro means national treasure. So, yeah, what I think is, you don't really need to know that this is rare to understand the movie. I think that's a point that's true and completely irrelevant to understand the movie. Because the big point of the movie is that you have this son of the elite family who believes that he inherits his spot in the legacy and doesn't need to work too hard. I mean, he works very hard, but he feels more like, yeah, it's a safe bet. And then this other guy comes in and is just better than him and takes his spot. And I think every culture has some kind of story like that. Everybody understands this concept. There's like a big legacy going on. Someone comes in, cuts the line, and people are quite mad at them. It's not a uniquely Japanese thing, and you don't need to know this fact about kabuki to understand the situation in the movie. That's I think it's the easiest part to understand about the whole movie. No, you have the legacy. Someone comes in, people are angry, people are shocked, people are surprised. Yeah, everybody thought, oh, that's a safe thing. This guy gets the spot that the father had, but father says that's the one. So yeah, it's surely good to know more about kabuki, to know that about kabuki, but to understand the movie, I think it's generally a very easy to understand movie. This is completely unnecessary to know, because everybody has heard similar stories like that, and that's something where we don't need to be like, oh, we're Japanese, we know that, and foreigners can't understand that, because then just look at foreign cultures. There has been stuff like that probably in every culture. Maybe not in recent history, but still like companies, big companies that have been like passed on for generations inside the family. Or just, no, it's nothing new, nothing foreign people can't understand. I'm always in favor of try to understand the local culture that you're talking about, because they might have different point of view, they might have different ideas, and people from other countries or other cultures should always think about that. I even believe, like, I'm from Germany and I don't understand American culture. I don't think I have much in common with them, even though we have the same skin color, we might have the same religious background. I don't think we have anything in common. Yeah, so for me, America, for example, is just like unbelievable crazy. And if I look at my coworkers, there's like Asian American, we had an African American, we have a white MAGA American, and they all have more in common with each other than I have with them. So yeah, so there's always this problem that people have their point of view and stick to it too much and don't try to understand the other culture. And I'm always in favor of try to understand it. If you still don't like it, that's a different thing, but try to understand it. But for this story, you don't need to understand the culture, because that's a very common thing in world history. So then here, let's keep going. There is nothing about gay romance in kabuki. I don't know how you get that idea. I get that idea because if you research kabuki and homosexuality, actually historically, like the thing, like young kabuki actors were very, very popular among men and women, and they did some services for them for some money, and it's a big thing. So in this movie, to stay with this movie, we have these two guys who grow up together, who spend all their life together basically. All the women in their life are exchangeable, they're not all that important, they're just there to support them, to get through this very difficult life. And both of these men play women in the theater. Some people criticize that they don't really understand women. I would say that's in part because it's a very fictionalized, idealized version of a woman and not really like real. But the most sensual, erotic, passionate thing that happens in this movie is that someday, suddenly one of them decides, I want to play this play, I want to do this play, and the other one says, okay, you need a male co-star, I'm gonna do that, I will change my stage gender to a man so we can play this couple. And it's the most sexual thing that happens in this movie, the most erotic thing. And if you want to tell me that there's nothing going on between these two men who are so close, maybe they don't tell everyone, hey, we have feelings for each other. But if there are no feelings for each other, I'm sorry, maybe you didn't understand that movie. It's like the closest thing to real love that happens in this movie. And yeah, sorry. And like I said, historically, it's there. It's history of kabuki. like men were in love with actors, especially actors who play female roles, the Onagata, and actors who play child roles. So it's a thing historically and in this movie. And yeah, if you don't see that, you don't understand it, or you don't want to see it because maybe you have some issues with gay people. So here, very traditional, and only men in the family can be kabuki actors. Yeah, of course, that's true. Only men can be kabuki actors. By the way, Shinobu Terajima, who is mother of role of the Ryusei Yokohama from Kabuki family. I think he wants to tell me that this actress is from a Kabuki family, and that's good to know. Thank you very much for this information. That's very nice. Probably in order to understand this movie more deeply, there should be some information available for the Kabuki background. Sure, more Kabuki background always helps to understand this movie, but I think it's very easy to understand, like I said, because it's a movie made for the masses, not for Kabuki fans. So I don't think there's all that much knowledge needed, but I appreciate every comment, even though I disagree quite a lot. If you disagree with me, that's totally fine. Please don't insult me. Yeah, you can tell me to study more. That's totally fine. I will never stop studying. It's very interesting to discuss these things, and like I usually say, all my reviews are work in progress. There's always more to say and more to analyze, and I love to get to new conclusions by getting other people's opinions. Wonderful. So yeah, thank you, even though you, Mr. Tomoko, maybe don't like me so much or are angry at me. I'm not angry. I'm happy about every comment. Please comment, subscribe, tell your friends, and maybe we can get to better conclusions and better understanding. And yeah, maybe Japanese people can learn something about other cultures as well. Always great to understand other cultures. So yeah, cool. Thank you very much for this. Like I said, give me your opinions. You can disagree. Please be nice. I'm very sensitive and might start to cry if you insult me too much. Anyway, we have one more thing. It's been quite some time ago, and let's throw in some stuff about the... Maybe, did I talk? I don't even remember anymore. Anyway, the Baby Assassin's Cafe. For example, this one here. Can't see it. This one here. Well, it worked. Yeah, you can get a lot of stuff. It was not great. I can't really say that I enjoyed it too much. The food was very mediocre. Now you can get nice pictures. Oh, what's going on? You can get nice stuff here, like pictures, cards, and all these goodies. A lot of merchandise because they want your money. The food was, yeah, looked like food from the show and tasted like I can make that cheaper and easier. And the cafe itself was quite terrible because it was a shared space with a JoJo cafe and some other stuff, and there were just white walls, no chance to sit down. And yeah, the nice part, some meters around the corner, there was a merchandise shop where they actually put some of the stuff from the show, like shoes and some decoration. It was quite nice. Later they had autographs that in Osaka need to be in a plastic box, while in Tokyo they were just standing there. Maybe Osaka's dangerous. Yeah, it was overall very disappointing. I spent way too much money on these things because, of course, they're random, and if you want them all, You gotta buy a lot and you will have quite a lot double. I don't even have that many doubles. And I got this 3 times, I guess. Yeah, so it's a lot of wasted money, but sometimes the heart wants what it wants, and you gotta go with it. So if anybody is interested in some, like, Baby Assassin's acrylic stands, maybe we can make a deal. Yeah, it's stuff. You want stuff. No? So, I mean, if I move this, here's a big fat Karbika, too. That was from the online shop. And, yeah. A nice idea, I think. In Tokyo, the execution of that event was probably much better, at least from what I saw. Quite recently, I went to the City, the animation cafe, which looked absolutely disgusting on the pictures on the website. And when you went there, they had the same pictures on the menu. It looked terrible. It tasted really good. It was really funny. The show is really, really good as well. So watch City, the animation, based on a manga by the same guy who made Nichijou and by Kyoto Animation. So it's a beautiful, wonderful watch it. It's great. Much better cafe than the Baby Assassin's cafe. Oh yeah, here, I got this one as well. This is pretty good. Yeah, this is a good one. Yeah, not so great. Slightly, massively disappointing. Like, if you can't even sit down, what's the point? Yeah. Anyway, on the slightly City, the animation. One more cute thing. You know, in Japan they have this idea of a mini theater, so very small cinemas that show more like independent movies, and they sometimes try new stuff to get some extra money because they're all like struggling, especially since the pandemic. And now they have gacha with the logos of the cinemas as like what are called keychains. And I got 2 today. One is here, the Sakurazaka, I think that's in Okinawa. And I've got the Yokohama Shinemarin, which is super cute here. Yeah, so maybe like this. And very happy. I still need to go and get more because these are really cool. And it's good to support these cinemas. So nice. More positive ending note. I really like this cat. I still haven't been to the cinemas, but someday I should do a big Japan tour and visit all the mini theaters in Japan. Good plan to whenever I have money. Good. On this note, I hope you had some fun with this, and I hope you're not angry at me because I said something that you don't enjoy. I try my best to be nice and politely disagree with people. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for subscribing. 152. Please, can we make it 152,000 or something like that? Tell your friends, tell your mother, tell everyone you know to help me out. You don't need to give me big money. If you want to give me big money, I will happily take it, but a like or a subscription will do. Maybe a nice comment. Yeah, anyway, thank you so much. Have a nice day. See you. Bye. Bye. Bye.